to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital. Welcome in for this MPW Digital My Dogs Are Barking Extra. Very excited about today's episode. Nothing necessarily sports related. Not talking about teams. Not talking about the SEC standings and kind of where each team's going to finish. Today's kind of a more of a serious episode, but something I'm really excited about, and that is having on Michael Smoak from HigherUpWellness. Michael is the owner, the creator of HigherUpWellness. And really, this episode today is just kind of for if there's any guys, any men that watch MPW digital content who just are in a place where kind of after the New Year's resolution is kind of worn off, and maybe you hadn't hit your weight loss goals, hadn't hit any of your goals that you thought you were going to hit. Michael is just going to kind of come and share some really practical tips along with us, along with motivation. He's really a talented guy. And man, we're really looking forward to hearing his social medias have just exploded of over 1 million followers. His information is just really, really good, and he explains some of the science behind the things he's saying. And anyway, I just thought it was a great opportunity for those of us just wanting to get tips of that, and that might not be everybody's kind of cup of tea. But you know, I've lost 65 pounds here over the last little bit, and still have work to do, but some of it has been with learning from some of Michael's kind of teaching, and so he is really a helpful guy. I think you can get a lot out of it, even just listening, kind of putting it on the background, and just hearing some of his tips that he has in terms of weight loss and kind of things to kind of change your perspective on some of this stuff, you know. And so anyway, again, I know it's a little bit of a different episode, but every once in a while we kind of have a different kind of guest, and Michael is exactly that. So very excited about that today. Do want to go ahead and appreciate our ad partners. Let you know that this episode is brought to you in part by Arpa's Coffee Bar there in Starkville. If you're looking for a great coffee, man, Arpa's is the place to go. It is freezing outside, so even if you want to go get some, you know, some of their special roast, it's a very good idea because it's terribly cold outside. Arpa's is a great place to go. So located in the heart of the Cotton District there in Starkville, Mississippi. Let them know that you're a listener of the My Dogs Are Barking podcast, and you get 15% off of your order. Not a bad deal at all. So make sure you go by Arpa's. And hey, also look, a lot of people are looking for things in life and wanting to become rich, but you know, what does it mean to be rich? Maybe it's less about reaching a magic number and more about discovering the magic in life. Skip Langley is your Batesville, Mississippi Edward Jones advisor serving clients in the area and across the state. Count on him for financial strategies that can help you support a life you love, because the key to being rich is knowing what counts. So contact him today at 662-563-9843, and together you can find your rich. Edward Jones, member SIPC. Let's get started with Michael. Guys, so much for joining us on kind of a different edition of My Dogs Are Barking. Of course, I'm Landon, and joined by Michael Smoak, the founder of HigherUpWellness. And just kind of like I talked in the intro, you know, Michael is a guy that has really inspired a lot of people in America and kind of all around the world. It's really neat to watch how he has kind of blown up. And Michael, just for people maybe who don't know you, man, share a little bit about who you are, but also like, how in the world did you just kind of blow up and all of a sudden have this following that you have?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and when I get the answer, I'll certainly let you know. I am very fortunate and blessed to have had the opportunity to do what I have done the last 18 months. I'm grateful to be here and chat with you and the audience for a few minutes. And my hope is that if just one person takes just one thing that's worth of some modicum of value from this conversation, then it'll all be worth it. So I'm grateful for the opportunity, and the internet opportunity has been no different. So as Landon said, my name is Michael Smoak. All of my social media handles are HigherUpWellness. That was an idea hatched a long time ago in a business class in college, where I wanted to be a health and wellness consultant to business executives and marry my love for business in the corporate world, which I do genuinely enjoy, with health and wellness, because I realized when I took care of my body and my brain through proper nutrition, proper training, proper rest and recovery, I showed up as a better human being, not only in my job, but in every facet of my life. And so my passion for health and wellness has very deep roots. And about 18 months ago, I saw a problem in the fitness industry that sort of hit a boiling point with me of mass overcomplication of getting great results. And I knew what I did to elicit what people said was an incredible transformation in terms of losing 60 pounds of body fat and now having gained 25 or 30 pounds of muscle. And people assume it was this extraordinary effort, but it was really a moderate effort over an extraordinary period of time. And so that's the message that I base all of my content around, is that you don't have to do anything crazy. It really is mastering the basics and the things we should probably all be doing anyways. And the missing piece, that secret sauce, is that obvious success comes down to doing, or excuse me, extraordinary success comes down to doing the obvious thing for an extraordinary period of time. And I want to teach people that if they can just do these obvious things every day, those efforts compound on one another. And it's like I say at the end of all my videos, it is not necessarily easy to do, but it is simple. So don't overcomplicate it. It's simple principles that are simple to understand, but they are not always easy to execute in our daily lives. And my mission is to teach more people that they can establish these 3 or 4 key choices every day to truly make a difference in the way they not only look, but the way that they feel, both about themselves, energy wise, and about the world around them.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you made it. Really did kind of take it into a simple way, because it can be very overwhelming to think about. Like, what am I going to do if I have, 40 or 50 pounds, or even more weight than that to lose? Like, it's so overwhelming to think about. But it takes time. Something I remember you pointed out, that I loved, and I remind myself often, is that the time is going to pass anyway. And if you are lucky, if you're blessed to have time, then it's going to pass by anyway. So you might as well do with the most of it that what you will. Even if that
Yeah.
means having some hard days, or having hard workouts, whatever the case may be. So kind of take us to this, man. Say there's a guy listening in his late 20s, and maybe he's a little more overweight than he used to be, or maybe he's never been in great shape, but he kind of sees, like, man, I'm getting a little bit older. Like, things are a little bit harder and to recover. Kind of getting into my 30s now. Man, what is something that you would say are some kind of non-negotiables you can kind of set up with yourself from the get-go that will be important kind of in a weight loss journey?
Yeah, I tell all my coaching clients to not necessarily have ceilings. I think too many people have these ceiling goals they want to reach up and try to grab. I think of the classic New Year's resolutioner. What do we all say when New Year's hits? All these people join the gym. They say, I'm not going to have any more fast food. I'm not going to have any soda. I'm going to work out twice a day. I'm going to start 75 hard. I'm going to read a book in a month. They set all these audacious, lofty goals that sound great in theory, but then when it comes to application, they can't adhere, and then they fail and they lose confidence in themselves, and they think that fitness and vitality is truly not theirs for the taking, which couldn't be further from the truth. So I say scrap the ceilings and figure out what your fitness floors are. For me, it was all about establishing what is the bare minimum standard I know I can adhere to, no matter how crazy my life gets, no matter how sad I am, busy I am, overwhelmed I am, angry, whatever I'm feeling in the moment. I know I don't need motivation as an emotion to rely on doing these things. So I establish my floors with my coaching clients, with myself. And I suggest you guys do the same. And if you don't know where to start, here's what I recommend people start with. My floor personally is I walk every single day for at least 60 minutes. And that's broken up however I see fit. That can be 6 10-minute walks. It could be one 60-minute walk, whatever the day allows for. I like taking micro walks throughout the day, however. It is 3 workouts a week. That's it. 3 workouts, about 60 minutes a piece. So I'm only in the gym 3 hours a week. And that was the case for me throughout my entire transformation. I make sure to hit my protein goal every single day, which easy math for you guys. If you don't want to do too much work to figure out what that number is, take whatever your goal body weight is and eat that in grams of protein every day. And then my rule around nutrition, if it grew in the ground, grew on a tree, or had a mom and dad, I try to make that 80 to 90% of my diet. That confines myself to basically just whole natural foods that come from the earth. And that's 80 to 90% of my nutrition. So if I can do those things, if I can walk an hour a day, or for some of you, me particularly to be more specific, 10,000 steps minimum a day, be in the gym 3 times a week, hit my protein goal, and eat 80% of the time whole, natural, real foods, and every once in a while veer off course a little bit. That process, that protocol stuck to for months and years created an extraordinary result for me. So those are my floors. And that's a floor, those are floors that I believe anybody can take, even if they're starting from scratch, and adhere to fairly easily.
And when you think about, like the whole calories in and calories out, what is it exactly that, like, how does fat loss happen? Like, I know you're talking about hitting those protein goals and those kind of exercise goals to make sure we get the steps in. But, like, when you think about the science of it, like, how does a person lose body fat?
Yeah. Yeah. This is something that I'm baffled people still try to twist the truth on it. It's something that people are still so confused on because of the mass overcomplication in the social media world. You've got people saying you need to be on keto to lose weight, low carb, high carb, vegan. It doesn't matter. And that's the real secret. The best dietary protocol is the one that you will stick to. And rarely is it any of those extremes. It's often somewhere in the middle. Calories in, calories out is the concept. The CISO equation is what creates weight loss in any capacity. So, very simply put, you have to consume slightly less calories, whether it's 50 or 500 less calories daily, than you burn to lose body fat. So, if I burn 3,000 calories a day, which I roughly do, and I'll tell you how to establish that and figure that out in just a moment. If I burn 3,000 calories in a day to maintain my weight, and I eat 2,700, so that's a 300 calorie deficit, my weight will slowly decrease over time at about a half to 3/4 of a pound per week. General consensus advice: take your maintenance calories, subtract about 500 off that per day. And that's going to get you to about a 3,500 calorie daily, or excuse me, weekly deficit, 500 times 7. And we know there's roughly 3,500 calories of stored energy in a pound of body fat. So you can assume you'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 pound per week of fat loss at that number. And to establish your calorie maintenance, we have the power of the lovely internet, which we are on right now doing this podcast. You can simply type in calorie maintenance calculator, and a bunch of different options will come up. And all you do is input your information as accurately as you can. And that'll give you a general estimate that's probably within 10% of what your calorie maintenance is. And then you tinker with it a little bit. You eat that amount for a few days and you see what your body weight does on a scale over the course of maybe a week. And if it goes down, congrats, you found a deficit. If it stays the same, congrats, you found your maintenance. And if it goes up, you might be in a little bit of a calorie surplus. So if anybody takes anything away from this episode, let it be this. Don't let anyone on the internet tell you anything other than creating a negative calorie energy balance is what causes weight loss. It is not a certain food. It is not a certain diet. It is the fact that you are being placed in an energy deficit, whether that comes from Twinkies and McDonald's or whole natural foods or ribeyes. Now, don't do Twinkies or McDonald's because you'll feel like crap, but it can be done in theory. That's just an extreme example. So that is the calories in, calories out equation. And tens of thousands of peer-reviewed studies have proven this to be true now. It truly is irrefutable evidence.
So say someone does that. Say they go, which is exactly what I did and so many other people did. Just Google what your maintenance calories are and kind of figure out just by putting in your height and weight, what your kind of lifestyle is like, if you're active or not so much. So let's say someone figures that out and they go, okay, I know this is it. I need to somehow stay under this. And I want to, it's this airs Friday. So I'm going to start Saturday. I'm going to listen to this Friday night. What's next? Like, what's the next step in that? Okay, I know that I don't need to go above this number, but what do I do now? And I know I need to exercise, but where would you start after that?
This is the hard part for everybody, Landon. This is the part where people fail because they realize the results they're looking for aren't going to come overnight or even in 30 days. You cannot undo what the position of some of us were in, I was in. You cannot undo years of poor decision making overnight and probably not even in 4 weeks. So this is the part where people get overwhelmed. Now that you have the plan, you know that, let's say we found that your calorie maintenance is 3,000, so you need to eat 2,500 calories a day, and your goal body weight is 200, so you're going to eat 200 grams of protein. You got your groceries all laid out, and now it gets really mundane. And now your discipline will be tested because you know it's going to take you 3 months to lose that 30 pounds minimum, and then you've got to keep it off afterward. You have to make real lifestyle changes. You have to make real shifts in what you enjoy in your food and shifting that food compass towards whole, natural, satiating foods. So once you have that down, you simply need to accept that you have a goal. I want to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, and then detach yourself from the outcome. This is a very important part of success in weight loss or any worthwhile goal in life. Figure out what the goal is and then detach yourself from it and become relentless about finding a system that allows you to maximize compliance. Remember, compliance is the science. We will see the best results in what we like and can stick to. And just like James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits, we do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. So if your goal is lose 40 pounds, but the system in terms of the diet and exercise plan you chose, you can't stick to more than 20% of the time, your goals aren't going to happen. But if you can find a system, in my case, 3 workouts a week, 10,000 steps a day, protein goal, whole foods, that you can stick to close to 100% of the time, well, then your goals are a natural side effect. So accept the fact that it's going to take a little while to get where you want to be. Embrace it, fall in love with the process and showing up for yourself every day in a way that makes you feel proud. And the process will become, dare I say, effortless and enjoyable.
That's really good, man. Well, the one thing I wanted to ask about is, you bring up kind of the process after that point. Like you do get this moment of like motivation, and then you go, "Oh man, all right, now I have to do it." And sometimes that means like, man, Tuesday night is just kind of a boring food night. Where if you're anything like me, you couldn't wait to be like, "Man, I'm going to destroy some Chick-fil-A and like,
Yeah.
get several sandwiches." And sometimes it's just being you know pumped and excited for like some salmon and like rice and broccoli, and adding in a little bit of hot sauce because it's no calories, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So what happens though when someone, and maybe someone can do that one time, but what happens on the on and off day? Like what happens when there's just a blowout of a day and you look up and you go, man, like I have completely overeaten the calories I need. I have not moved the amount I have, and now I just kind of want to give up. Like where do you go after a day like that?
I love this question because it's one of my favorite forms of showing progress in my clients. I had a lady on one of our coaching group calls yesterday morning say, for the first time in ages, I had a day where I was off track for the first half of the day, lunchtime, breakfast. But I simply, instead of saying the whole day is shot now and just eating whatever I wanted, I simply said, that's okay. I don't have an emotional attachment to food. I don't have guilt around food. So I simply ate a little lighter and focused on protein the rest of the day and was about 600 calories over my calorie goal and then went right back to normal the next day. It's amazing to me, but so many people struggle with this all in or all out mentality, specifically when it comes to fitness. They tell themselves that, well, if everything in the day wasn't perfect, why do anything at all? But if we can step outside of that behavior, you can really see how preposterous it sounds. It's almost the most classic and obvious form of self sabotage to keep you from getting to your goals. In what world does it make sense to do 100% of nothing versus 50% of something good? And if, in my eyes, if you're only 50% compliant that day, that's a hell of a lot better than 100% non compliant. And even if you're 100% non compliant that day, it makes a whole lot of sense, whole lot more sense to get back on the horse and be 90% compliant the following day than say, well, I'm 100% non compliant again because it's all shot. You did not undo progress through one day. That is impossible. I don't care if you had 10,000 calories and sat on the couch all day. I promise whatever you've worked for to get to where some of you are, maybe you're 40 days into a fitness journey because we're about 40 or 50 days into the new year. One day is not going to undo the last 8 weeks of progress that you've worked so hard to get to. So this is all a mindset and perspective thing. And I know the struggle because I've been there. But if you can understand and embrace the concept of consistently good will always beat occasionally great, then you can get where you want to be in fitness because you have mastered the art of getting 1% better. But too many people go perfect, not perfect, perfect, not perfect, instead of just going pretty good for years on end. And if you look at that graph, if you stretch that out big picture, which is what I want people to do, and you extrapolate that over months and years, that consistently good person is going to be light years ahead of the occasionally great person.
Yeah, I think one of the most encouraging things I read that I think goes along with that is I remember one person had written down that they had lost 70 pounds, and they said, I didn't lose 70 pounds, one time. I lost 1 pound 70 times. And
Yeah.
this kind of consistent everyday thing kind of builds over time. It's just like when someone gets to know, if someone's, courting someone to marry, or kind of getting to know the person, like you didn't know every single detail about them, but that also means you didn't fall in love with every single detail about them immediately. You got to know them over time. And then eventually, that equity that you've built into them kind of builds into something else. And so it's the same
Yep.
way with what you're talking about. We're going to take a very quick break and hear some messages from MPW Digital. But when we come back, I'm really excited to get Michael's take on something that really honestly all of us have built in, and maybe it's different for each person, but that is excuses. What are some different excuses we all tell ourselves that are not quite true, that we can kind of overcome and that can kind of maybe stopping us from hitting some of our goals? So we'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
All MPW digital podcasts are brought to you by our friends at Parish Brewing Company, located in the heart of Cajun country in Broussard, Louisiana. Parish Brewing Company's simple goal is to make awesome craft brewed beer, and they do it remarkably well. The doctor is introducing their new go-to IPA, Dr. Juice. It's a highly crushable juice bomb, dry hopped with a blend of their favorite hand-selected hops from the Yakima Valley in Washington. Dr. Juice's drinkability is sneaky good, considering it clocks in at 6% ABV. The pour glows a rich cantaloupe hue with a thick frosted haze, soft mouthfeel, an aroma and taste that's full of passion fruit, papaya, and blood orange, making it drink like a glass of freshly squeezed juice. They also have Ghost in the Machine. It's a double IPA brewed with obscene quantities of hand-selected Citra hops from Yakima Valley. Expect pungent grapefruit flavors and aromas, tropical fruit, less harsh bitterness than most IPAs. Again, it's Parish Brewing Company. Wherever you get your beer, check out Parish. Make sure that you look for them, because any beer that you get from Parish is going to be absolutely outstanding. Thank you from MPW Digital. We're brought to you by Easy Hemp Company. Easy is a hemp-infused sparkling water. It's a guilt-free alcohol alternative, a natural way to relax and unwind. It's all natural. Made with real fruit, no added sugar, low calories, gluten-free. One 12-ounce can of Easy has 3 milligrams of THC. With Easy, it's easy to avoid the gummy scare and control your experience. So change the can, not the ritual. It's easy. Visit EasyHempCo.com to view the Easy Finder to find Easy near you. Easy is Farm Bill compliant with hemp derived from THC, CBD extracts. Easy is for people 21 and older. Enjoy responsibly.
Welcome back to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital. I'm Landon, back with Michael Smoak from HigherUpWellness. Michael, as you've been talking about some of the things that might keep us from our goals, our weight loss goals, kind of being where we want to be, man, what do you think are some excuses that, and as you're saying this, I know that you are not saying this as this is everybody else and never you, or, or never me, because we've all had different excuses that we've told ourselves, right? But what do you feel like are some excuses that maybe some of us tell ourselves that we can kind of lean into as an excuse to not get to where we probably need to be?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest excuses I hear at this point in my career, I've probably had close to 1,000 conversations, both one-on-one and in group settings, around why people think they can't get to their fitness goals. Some of the most common ones I hear are, I don't have time, I'm too old, or it's too late, or it's just not fun. It's miserable and I don't want to suffer. Now, that last one sounds like a fact. It's actually just a false narrative and a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a complete logical fallacy in the way that people think that being really physically fit equals living this miserable, horrible life. And you know this throughout your own transformation. It's actually quite enjoyable and fulfilling. So we'll start with the first one, which is I don't have time. And that's where I love my protocol and I fell in love with it, because I'm not a gym rat. Despite the fact that I'm a fitness content creator, I don't absolutely love just selling my soul in the gym for 2 hours a day. It's actually the last thing I want to do. And so I've learned through both studying scientific literature on what makes muscles grow, what creates a good training program, that it actually doesn't take that much effort or work to change the body. And a great quote from Adam Schafer of the Mind Pump podcast, when he looks at his clients, he says, what's the least amount of work we can do to elicit the most change possible? And that's how I view fitness. So very simply put, if you think you don't have time for your physical health, first off, your priorities are out of order. That is a pure excuse. Everybody has time to make a few key choices every single day. You don't have to be a gym rat. You don't have to be a CrossFitter or a marathoner, but you can find 10 6-minute windows or 6 10-minute windows to step outside and go for a walk, or hop on the walking pad that you can buy on Amazon for $150. You can find 3 hours a week to go to the gym for 45 to 60 minutes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can find 20 minutes on a Sunday to meal prep a big batch of protein. You can find an hour to get on YouTube and learn how to cook so that your food is actually enjoyable. The time excuse is truly one of the purest forms of excuses I've heard, because I think it stems from a lack of awareness or education. People associate a great physique with 5 days a week in the gym, 2 hours a day, an hour of cardio. And at that point, it's a part-time job. My promise to anybody watching this is that you can get in the best shape of your freaking life and many people's best shape of their lives comparatively if you dedicate 3 hours a week to the gym and 7 hours a week to walking. 10 hours a week. That is less than a part-time job. You absolutely have it. You can absolutely make time for it. I work with people that own their own businesses and have a wife and 4 kids and are in better shape than I'll ever be in. And it truly is as simple as, if it matters to you, you will make time. The second one being, I'm too old. It's too late for me. That's just simply not true. I think of my dear mother, who I love more than anything in the world. She lost 30 pounds and she rows 30,000 meters a week and focuses on her protein and stays active. And she looks incredible well into her 60s, but she started her transformation when she was in her early 60s. It's truly never too late to get a handle on your caloric intake, to eat more protein, and to find a form of exercise that pushes you but is safe for your body and meets you where you're at. And just about at any age, for any person of able body, picking up a barbell or a dumbbell a few times a week and going walking is not only okay to do, it's encouraged, because you increase your risk, or excuse me, you increase your likelihood of living a longer, fruitful, less painful life if you are consistently training. Because if you don't give those muscles a reason to stay stimulated and grow, they will atrophy and you will become weak and life will get very, very hard. I'll give you an interesting indicator from a study I read a while back that I heard from Dr. Peter Attia. Two of the biggest predictors of early mortality in elderly people was grip strength and foot speed. Now you might be saying, what does that have to do with anything you're saying? And what does that have to do with potentially dying early? Grip strength is associated with your overall ability to have a force output, and you can have a stronger grip if you pick up dumbbells, you pick up barbells, you resistance train. We've all felt that very old person, that very frail person, they can barely squeeze your hand and they might be closer to the end of your life. Or when people get very, very sick, their grip strength decreases. The next one, foot speed, is associated with older people who trip and don't have the foot speed to take that second step and catch themselves because they don't have those type 2 or fast twitch muscle fibers well trained enough because they don't do any resistance training. So resistance training can quite literally decrease your chances of dying earlier or suffering more into your later years. So I think it's incredibly important as an older person to weight train. And the last thing I'll say is that it's boring or bland. No, it's not. You just simply don't know how to cook. And Landon, I know you can speak to this too. Once you figure out a few key meals, you learn how to use seasonings, you find the beauty that is the air fryer, you can make restaurant quality meals that you'd pay $50 out for at your house for less than $15 that hit your protein goal, your calorie goals, and they taste damn good. You just got to learn a little bit of how to cook.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. Yeah, I love that you end with that. Like there is some joy. Like I kind of joke about Tuesday night, you not be able to go out to get a meal, but like man, I'm always so excited to be like, man, what can I cook? Because it sounds silly, but like seasonings really change the game, man. Like you really can have
Yeah.
some good stuff, and there's also some good like low calorie barbecue sauces if that's your thing, or hot sauces, close to no calories. So there are different ways to make it enjoyable, that it's not a year long just miserable fest all the way through. But man, that's really good. And lastly, Michael, again, I thank you so much for bringing your time and your
Of course.
expertise, because I certainly get a lot out of it just listening to you, and so many other people do as well. I mean, like I mentioned, your platforms have just really exploded, and I think it's because it resonates with a lot of people, and people get that. Man, here's this person who's being pretty straightforward with me, but also not just beating me up, like giving me some practical tips on what I can do, and that's important. Because no one is kind of beaten into submission to kind of change their life. They're inspired to do it.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to end with this, man. You mentioned that you have coaching clients. Just for anyone who is interested, obviously, like they can consume your content and kind of watch in the same way I have. But you also take it a step further. Like there are people that can get involved with you directly and kind of one on one.
Yeah. I have a coaching community. It is a group coaching effort. It is myself amidst a group of clients. We're about 400 people strong. We have multiple group calls per week where anywhere from 10 to 50 people in the community at any given time hop on. So despite having a lot of people in the community, the calls themselves are very intimate, and the group setting is great for accountability, energy, shared experience, and motivation. We share our wins in there every single call. We address challenges. But when someone signs up with me, they get a 12-week training program. They get access to the community where they can post and be around like-minded people inside of the school community, which is the platform that I use. They get hours, over 12 hours of video modules, and I release a new one every month on fitness, nutrition, mindset, and I'm even starting to expand into the other things that I have a proclivity in, such as public speaking skills and communication skills, career development, and a whole lot more. And the multiple group calls per week. So if that's something that anyone's interested in, being a part of that community, and you maybe have tried to get fit in the past and you're just frustrated or angry at the fact that it never feels sustainable or enjoyable, or like you couldn't do it for the rest of your life, which is ultimately what we all have to do if we really want to get fit and stay fit, then it might be the plan for you, because that's what I have found, as well as the hundreds of other people that I've worked with at this point. And if you want to learn more about that, they can simply reach out to me on Instagram and shoot me a direct message with the word goals, and they will receive back a prompt to enter their information, where they will receive a video from me explaining exactly what the offer entails in a detailed, less than 10-minute video, showing them exactly what they get if they decided to invest. And if they do, I'd love to have them.
That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about that, how people can get in touch with you directly. And as Michael mentioned, all of his socials are just Higher Up Wellness, and that's on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube as well. Am I correct on that, Michael?
That's correct. Yes, I have Higher Up Wellness on TikTok and Instagram, and my YouTube channel is Higher Up Wellness, where I host the Higher Up podcast, which is available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
That's wonderful, man. Well, make sure you guys tune into Michael's content if this is something you're looking into doing, and maybe for the very first time, as Michael mentioned. Like, I mean, it's not too late. If you still have breath in your lungs, man, you have an opportunity. So, thank you, Michael, so much for joining us, and thank you guys so much for listening to My Dogs Are